This is Spectrum's weekly recap, your video guide to the latest news and ideas shaping the Adventist conversation. Here are the highlights of this week. A major baptism scandal in Brazil raises concerns about the church growth metrics. Hazing allegations at an Adventist academy lead to student suspensions. The Adventist Church and Latter-day Saints celebrate nearly 3 decades of humanitarian collaboration. A compelling memoir exposes the dangers of fundamentalist gender roles, and a fresh look at the Council of Nicea challenges Adventist perspectives on church history. First up, a shocking investigation reveals a baptism scheme in Sao Paulo, Brazil, where church officials manipulated baptismal numbers by paying vulnerable individuals to participate in multiple baptisms. The scandal, led by Pastor Ari Celso Cidral, highlights financial misconduct and unethical church growth strategies that prioritize numbers over genuine discipleship. An internal investigation at Mount Pisgah Academy in North Carolina uncovered a troubling culture of hazing, where students engaged in inappropriate pranks involving forced exposure and humiliation. School officials swiftly took disciplinary action, suspending multiple students and implementing an anonymous reporting system to prevent further incidents. Next, for nearly 30 years, the Adventist Church and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints have worked together on over 300 humanitarian projects across 85 countries, providing crucial aid such as clean water, food relief, and medical supplies. Leaders from both faiths recently reaffirmed their commitment to share values and global service. In her review of A Well-Trained Wife, My Escape from Christian Patriarchy by Tia Levings, Trudy J. Morgan Cole highlights this powerful memoir as a harrowing account of abuse intertwined with fundamentalist theology. Levins sheds light on the dangers of Christian patriarchy, detailing her escape from an abusive marriage that was justified by fundamentalist theology. The book critiques gender roles in conservative religious communities and challenges faith-based systems that enable domestic abuse. And in Views, Reinder Bruinsma reflects on the Council of Nicea's significance in shaping Christian doctrine, particularly regarding Arianism. Acknowledging his biases as a Dutch Protestant, Adventist minister, and Western male, he critiques Adventist suspicion of other Christian traditions rooted in anti-Catholicism and end-time narratives. He urges Adventists to reassess church history, recognizing their theological evolution from early anti-Trinitarianism to Nicene alignment. Bruinsma advocates for a balanced view that appreciates both the flaws and contributions of historical Christianity, encouraging collaboration amongst Christians to address modern challenges like secularization rather than focusing on denominational threats. Don't forget to check out Spectrum's new podcast, Adventist, eh? In this week's episode, we feature David Hayward, who pastored in Eastern Canada for 30 years. Over time, he developed a passion for open spirituality and empowering people beyond spiritual dependency. Now known as Naked Pastor, he uses art to spark dialogue and activate Jesus' message of, "My burden is light." Tune in for a thought-provoking conversation. An exclusive exhibition titled Sacred Cinematic Spectacles showcases rare first edition lithograph posters from biblical films and historical props. Curated by Alexander Carpenter, the exhibition explores the spiritual power of material culture and will be open at La Sierra University's Brandstater Art Gallery from February 18 to March 13, 2025. The One Project San Diego 2025 invites attendees to reflect, connect, and engage in meaningful conversations around Jesus' teaching. With inspiring speakers and worship sessions, the event promises an enriching spiritual experience from February 7 to 9 at the Westin San Diego Bayview. And finally, our video of the week explores the story of Mabel Branch, an early Adventist pioneer who overcame isolation and discrimination to make a lasting impact in her community. Through faith and resilience, her story sheds light on the challenges faced by early Adventist missionaries.
Mabel Branch, The Lonely Pioneer, by Dr. Susan M. Baker. It is very lonely here for me. These words, from a young woman named Mabel Branch in the Denver Post in 1903, speak to us 120 years later. We all know what it is like to be lonely. But Mabel was experiencing more than just a fleeting emotion. These words were spoken from Mabel's mission station in the country that is now Malawi. She wanted to let her family and friends know how she was doing as a mission worker thousands of miles away in Africa. She hoped they could understand her world, which would have been a big challenge for most Denver Post readers. Although we find Mabel lonely at this point, it is just part of her fascinating story, one that inspires and motivates us to persevere. First, it is important to understand the context of early missionary work. To be effective, the mission worker had to be a pioneer in every sense of the word. Pioneers left home, left everyone and everything they knew and loved, and went to live in unfamiliar places with unfamiliar people amid unfamiliar customs. Pioneering was often lonely and thankless. But we are ahead of the story. Mabel was born in 1878 in the U.S. state of Kansas. If you do the math, her birth was about 13 years after the emancipation of black slaves in America and nearly 15 years after the Seventh-day Adventist Church came into existence. Mabel's parents were Thomas and Henrietta Branch, an African-American couple who would later play a pivotal role in spreading the gospel in Africa. The Branches had 4 children, Mabel, firstborn, and 3 sons. The family moved to Denver, Colorado shortly after Mabel was born. At that time, the family was not Adventist. Indeed, few black people even knew that the Seventh-day Adventist Church existed. But the Lord had a work for the Branch family, and they accepted the Adventist message in 1892. 5 years later, Mabel graduated from high school and started a career in teaching. One major newspaper in Denver announced her new position, along with the historicity of her job. She, Mabel Branch, is the first colored teacher appointed in Colorado, and her friends look upon the appointment as marking the beginning of a new era for the colored race in the state. She has worked hard for the position with which she is now honored. Miss Branch on both sides of the family descends from slaves. The parents of her father and mother were slaves, but they themselves were born in freedom. Her parents are well educated and appreciate the honor given their daughter. The trailblazing Mabel had been teaching at the Colorado School for 4 years when the General Conference asked her parents to serve as missionaries to establish the Adventist work in British Central Africa. Or Nyasaland, now Malawi. W.A. Spicer, Secretary of the Foreign Mission Board, had opined that the situation in Central Africa is such that colored workers may render special service where the white face could not get access. However, the Branches' fitness as missionaries was not simply the color of their skin. Thomas and Henrietta Branch were people of great faith and dedication, hard workers who believed strongly in the gospel. Additionally, it was their dream to share the good news with their brothers and sisters in Africa. But they were not going to Africa alone. Mabel, now 24 years old, volunteered to go with them and be the teacher at the small mission school. As they set sail for London, England in 1902, the Branches became the first black missionaries sent to Africa by the General Conference. True pioneers! Mabel never underestimated the value of her work, even as she encountered difficult situations. Our 2 school buildings are made of grass and bamboo poles, with grass roofs, both. Buildings have dirt floors which are infested with small, shiny black insects. This insect burrows its way through the shoe and into the foot, where it deposits eggs. If the insect and its eggs are not removed intact in a short time, the foot becomes infected. Occasionally, snakes come out of the grass roof to view the classes in the schoolroom. Whenever one appears, the schoolboys drop books and slates, and lessons are suspended until it is killed. The smaller school building is used for teaching the Manganja scholars, of which we had 2 large afternoon classes. Many of the working people attend the afternoon session when their day's work is finished. The number of students Mabel taught fluctuated. From well over 100 to a couple of dozen, with ages ranging from primary school to adults with children, she accepted any student who wanted to learn reading, spelling, writing, English, arithmetic, and music. Beside teaching, Mabel pitched in doing other tasks, such as cutting soap and distributing it to her pupils, cooking, cleaning, and farming. Through it all, Mabel steadfastly believed that the work her family was doing would bring forth much fruit for the Master. Like many missionaries from cooler Western climes, Mabel had a hard time adjusting to African weather. She told the Denver Post, "Oh, it is so extremely hot. We dare not go out in the sun without a cork hat and umbrella, even when the sun is hidden behind a cloud. In a few minutes without a hat in this country, you will suffer with a severe pain in your head." She also battled with tropical diseases. Malarial fever is the common disease, and I am now having a second attack. I am still trying to perform my duties, but oh, it is so hard. Mama is just getting over an attack. Hardships notwithstanding, after almost 2 years as a pioneer, Mabel was still passionate. She wrote in the South African Messenger, "We all enjoy our work here and realize what a great opportunity we have for doing good." Mabel's final published description of mission life was upbeat and positive. Many of the village children attend our school and also Sabbath services and listen attentively to all that is said. In these children lies our hope of getting this message taught to others. The older people do not like to change their customs, but many of the young ones come to the mission to be taught. In school, the boys sing, which all enjoy very much, and they are eager to learn Sabbath school songs in English. The work is progressing nicely in all lines. We are all of good courage. Our prayer and desire is to know how to best work. We know that if we are faithful in sowing the seeds of truth, God will give the increase. Mabel and her family left Africa with their service completed in 1908. As a family, Mabel and her parents were indispensable to the establishment of the gospel in Central Africa. On the foundation they laid, today there are more than 700,000 Adventists in Malawi. It is amazing what God can do through lonely pioneers who never give up.
That's it for this week in Adventist news and views. Subscribe for more stories that matter to the Adventist community, and let's keep the conversation going.